Jack and Jill Hill were college students living the typical hectic life of balancing classes, part-time jobs, and a social life. One weekend, they decided to visit their parents' home and help out with a long overdue garage sale. Amid the clutter of old toys, forgotten books, and dusty antiques, they stumbled upon an ornate, ancient-looking lamp tucked away in a corner. Curiosity got the better of them, and Jack, always the more adventurous of the two, decided to give the lamp a rub. To their shock, thick smoke billowed out and a sinister-looking genie materialized before them. His eyes gleamed with a mischievous glint, and his voice echoed with a chilling timbre as he spoke. "I will grant you a wish, but your gain will be someone else's loss. If you want riches, someone will be stripped of theirs. If you want health, someone will fall ill. If you want love, someone will get their heart broken. Whatever you choose, that someone will know your name." Jack and Jill were taken aback, but their initial fears soon turned into a burning desire to seize the opportunity. Jack, always ambitious and craving a better life, was the first to speak. "I wish for immense wealth," he declared, visions of mansions and luxury filling his mind. The genie nodded. "As you wish," he intoned. With a snap of his fingers, a chest overflowing with gold and jewels appeared before Jack. At the same moment, Jill's bank account was drained and her scholarship was revoked. She found herself struggling to make ends meet, her financial stability shattered. Jack's wish for immense wealth initially manifested as a chest overflowing with gold and jewels, which he managed to discreetly exchange for money. His bank account swelled, and he started to indulge in luxuries he had only dreamed of before. Lavish parties, expensive cars, and the admiration of his peers became his new reality. But this wealth came with a price that Jill was unknowingly paying. Every time Jill had an opportunity for financial gain, it inexplicably turned sour. She applied for numerous scholarships and grants, but each time she was on the brink of success, the opportunity slipped through her fingers. Job interviews that seemed promising ended abruptly, with the positions mysteriously going to others. It was as if an unseen force was actively working against her. Unbeknownst to her, each lost opportunity for Jill translated into a windfall for Jack. When she narrowly missed out on a prestigious internship with a hefty stipend, Jack received an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative he had never heard of. When Jill's freelance work was rejected, Jack found himself winning a cash prize in a random contest he hadn't even entered. The more Jill struggled financially, the more Jack's wealth grew. This pattern didn't go unnoticed by the siblings. Jack, though initially thrilled by his newfound fortune, began to feel a gnawing sense of guilt as he watched Jill's life unravel. Her once vibrant spirit was dulled by the constant financial strain, and the carefree nature she once possessed was replaced by anxiety and desperation. One day, Jill confided in Jack, tears streaming down her face. "I don't understand what's happening, Jack. It's like every chance I get to improve my situation is snatched away from me. I feel cursed." Jack's heart sank. He knew that her misfortune was directly tied to his wish, but he couldn't bring himself to tell her the truth. Instead, he tried to help in small ways, offering her money and resources. But Jill, proud and independent, refused to accept more than the bare minimum. As the months wore on, the weight of Jack's guilt grew heavier. He started having vivid nightmares where Jill confronted him, eyes filled with betrayal and pain. He would wake up in a cold sweat, the genie's sinister words echoing in his mind. Your gain will be someone else's loss. Desperate to find a solution, Jack delved into research, hoping to find a way to reverse the curse. He scoured ancient texts and obscure forums, but every lead ended in despair. The genie's curse was ironclad, and there seemed to be no way to undo the damage. Meanwhile, Jill's situation grew more dire. She was forced to drop out of several classes due to lack of funds, and took on multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. The stress took a toll on her health, and the vibrant, determined Jill that Jack had always known was fading before his eyes. And she knew Jack Hill. Jill, though now destitute, was still tempted by the genie's offer. She had always been sickly, plagued by chronic illness. The thought of a healthy, vibrant life was irresistible. I wish for perfect health, she said finally, her voice trembling. The genie laughed, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. Granted, he said, and Jill felt a rush of vitality coursing through her veins. But as she flourished, Jack began to feel the effects. He was struck by debilitating illness, one that made even the simplest tasks a struggle, and he knew Jill Hill. Days turned into weeks, and the consequences of their wishes began to unravel. Jack's newfound wealth brought with it a host of problems. Friends turned into enemies, as the constant fear of losing his fortune gnawed at his sanity. He started having nightmares about Jill, her haunting eyes accusing him of her misery. Jill, though now healthy, was plagued by guilt and paranoia. He kept seeing Jack's once vibrant self wither away, his life now overshadowed by illness. She couldn't escape the feeling that she had traded her well-being for her brother's suffering. Jack and Jill Hill's lives grew increasingly intertwined in a nightmarish web of misfortune and guilt. After Jack's wish for wealth and Jill's wish for health, the eerie consequences of their desires began to manifest with chilling clarity. Jack's fortune continued to grow at the expense of Jill's financial stability. Their situation took a darker turn as Jill's newfound health began to directly drain Jack's vitality. Every time Jill experienced even the slightest discomfort or injury, Jack's health deteriorated in response. It started subtly. Jill would stub her toe, and Jack would feel a sudden, sharp pain in his chest. She caught a cold, and he would be bedridden with a severe flu. Jill, initially reveling in her newfound vigor, began to notice Jack's declining health and felt a crippling sense of dread. One particularly harrowing day, Jill slipped and twisted her ankle while rushing to her part-time job. The pain was excruciating, but what horrified her more was the sight of Jack collapsing to the ground, clutching his leg in agony. As her injury healed, Jack's condition worsened, leaving him unable to walk without a limp. Desperation set in. Jill tried to be extraordinarily careful, but it was impossible to avoid every mishap. A paper cut would send Jack into a fever. A bruise would leave him bedridden for days. The siblings could no longer ignore the connection between Jill's health and Jack's suffering. One night, as Jill tended to a particularly bad cut on her hand, she saw the toll it took on Jack. He lay on the couch, pale and sweating, his breath ragged. She couldn't stand it any longer. Jack, we need to do something. This can't go on. It's like I'm a curse to you. Jack, weakened but still protective of his sister, tried to comfort her. We'll find a way, Jill. We'll figure this out together. But Jill, driven by guilt and desperation, started researching ancient texts and folklore, looking for any clue that might help reverse their wishes. She spent countless hours in libraries and on obscure forums, her once vibrant life consumed by the search for answers. One particularly dark night, driven to the edge by Jack's declining health, Jill considered a drastic measure. She had read about rituals that required a sacrifice, a trade of one's own health or wealth to lift a curse. Tears streamed down Jill's face as she looked at her brother. I can't watch you suffer because of me. I have to try something. Jack and Jill Hill, exhausted by the relentless toll of the genie's curse, had nearly given up hope. Yet in the darkest depths of their despair, they had discovered a glimmer of a possibility. It was during one of Jill's late-night research sessions, buried in an ancient tome, that she stumbled upon a potential solution. The book, an obscure text on ancient curses and mystical artifacts, detailed a way to break a genie's curse. The process was perilous and required absolute trust and selflessness between the cursed individuals. The steps were as follows. 1. Acknowledge the wish. Both individuals must openly acknowledge their selfish desires and the consequences of their wishes. 2. Sacrifice. They must be willing to give up what they gained entirely and offer something deeply meaningful to them in return. 3. Forgiveness. They must forgive each other and themselves for the pain caused. 4. Unity. They must perform the ritual together, demonstrating their unbreakable bond. With renewed determination, Jack and Jill decided to undertake the ritual. They prepared everything meticulously, knowing there could be no mistakes. The ritual had to be performed at midnight under a full moon in a place of natural power. They chose an ancient forest clearing they remembered from their childhood, a place imbued with memories of happier times. As midnight approached, they stood in the center of the clearing, facing each other. The air was thick with anticipation and fear. Jill began the ritual by acknowledging her wish. Jack, I wished for perfect health, and I gained it at the cost of your suffering. I am deeply sorry for the pain I have caused you. Jack took a deep breath, his voice trembling. Jill, I wished for immense wealth, and it came at the expense of your financial stability. I am sorry for the hardships you've endured because of me. They then moved to the next step, sacrifice. Jill held a vial of her own blood, symbolizing her health, and Jack brought a piece of gold from his amassed fortune. We give up what we gained, Jill whispered, pouring her blood onto the ground, and offer what is most meaningful to us. Jack followed suit, placing the gold next to the blood. I offer my wealth, which has brought me nothing but guilt and misery. Next came the hardest part, forgiveness. They knelt, facing each other, tears streaming down their faces. I forgive you, Jack, for everything, Jill said, her voice breaking. And I forgive myself for the wish I made. I forgive you too, Jill, Jack replied, his eyes filled with pain and hope. And I forgive myself for my selfish desire. Finally, they clasped hands, their bond of unity, the last piece of the ritual. They recited the final incantation together, their voices merging into one. By the power of our bond, we renounce our wishes. Let the curse be broken, and may our gains return to where they belong. As the last word left their lips, the clearing was engulfed in a blinding light. The air crackled with energy, and for a moment, it felt as though the very fabric of reality was being rewritten. The genie appeared before them, his malevolent grin placed by a look of begrudging respect. "You have done what few could," he intoned. "Your selflessness and unity have broken the curse. Your gains will return to where they belong." But before she could proceed, the forest filled with the genie's malevolent laughter. "Desperation suits you, Jill," he mocked, "but there is no escaping the price of your wishes." Jill fell to her knees, the weight of the predicament crushing her spirit. The genie intoned, "Your selflessness and unity have broken the curse. However, you fail to name what is most meaningful to you. Therefore, I shall decide." Before they could react, the genie raised his hand. "The most meaningful things to you are each other," he declared. "I shall collect you both as my price." A powerful force pulled Jack and Jill towards the genie. They clung to each other, terror and sorrow etched on their faces. "Please, no," Jill cried. "We did everything right." The genie's laughter echoed through the clearing. "You did not name your offerings, and now you will pay the ultimate price." In an instant, the clearing was empty. The siblings were gone, taken by the genie into a realm beyond the mortal world. The forest clearing remained silent, a haunting reminder of the siblings' fate. But in their sacrifice, Jack and Jill had ensured the curse was lifted. Their gains returned to where they belonged, and those who had suffered because of their wishes found relief. Jack and Jill, bound together even in their final moments, became a cautionary tale whispered among those who sought power and fortune at any cost. They were remembered not just for their fateful encounter with the genie, but for the deep bond they shared, a bond so powerful it became their ultimate offering.